Good evening. Welcome to the regular meeting of the Revere School Committee. Today's Tuesday, January 21st, 2020, at 6 p.m. All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Roll call of the members.
Mrs. Rizzo?
Here.
Mr. D'Ambrosio?
Here.
Mr. Ferranti?
Here.
Ms. Gravellisi? Here. Mr. Sinella? Ms. Ty? Here. Mayor Arrigo?
First on the agenda, recognition.
Thank you, Ms. Gravellisi. So we're going to begin with some recognition for Row, Row, Row in Revere. Row, Row, Row in Revere has been an instrumental part of our community, our special education community, as well as the Revere Public Schools. They've done a great deal in terms of giving back to our community, giving to our schools and to our students within Revere, and we're just so grateful for all the work that they've done for our teachers, for our students, and within the community. We spoke about them a couple times in terms of what they've done at the Beachmont School with the little gym, as well as some of the things they've done in specific classrooms at different schools. They've done sensory walks for our students, which really have helped it be a little bit more accessible to the schools, giving them some breaks, and we're just so thrilled with the partnership. We couldn't be more happy. I know that our principals feel the same way. Our special education department feels very close to Row and Revere, and it's been a wonderful partnership over the past few years. I also know there's some school committee members that would like to thank Row as well.
Any members? Mrs. Rizzo?
So, he said most of it. I just want to remind everyone, this is not a one-day event. This is a process that takes the whole year. It takes so many hours of organization. It takes many volunteers to make this successful, with focus on their crucial role in the community. And we are blessed to have people like Row, and we do have others in the community also that help our students in our community out. But right now, I just want to, specify how much they've done for our school system and our students. I know there's been many letters from parents and students thanking them on their contributions, whether it's been to CPAC meetings, whether it's been to holiday events. They've donated plenty of books. And Dr. Vidal, are you showing the pictures already?
I'm sliding through.
Okay. So if you look over here, in case anyone has not seen them, there are some pictures. This is the little gym that is at Beachmont School, and it is so exciting. The kids absolutely loved it. And that's their sign for outside in their acronym. These are the books that they donated to the little libraries around the city. And those are some of what I got for my little library, and they're just a delight to read and something to enjoy with your students or your children. And this is where we kicked it off down in the Point of Pines. One of the libraries, and I hope everyone's visiting those libraries because, there's just so much in there. Also, if you check the Revere Rec department, they have programming that they sponsor all the time. I know there's one coming up on, is it Roman Music Therapy? I think started today. So, great opportunities there. Excuse me? Am I done? No. Are you done?
You want to read this?
You can read it. Oh, the sensory walks. These are, we have them in 3 of our schools now, the Wayland, the Lincoln, and the Paul Revere. And the staff really enjoyed working on them. I know at Wayland, I was just amazed that one of their teachers in their shirt and tie was on the floor having a great time with it. So not only do the students enjoy it, the staff is really enjoying everything they've done for us. So I want to remind everyone, they're getting ready for an August 8th event. I'm going to put my name down as a rower, and I'm going, well, maybe I'm old. But in case any of my colleagues want to join me, this should be a real circus. But or maybe Mr. Murphy can be my partner, so I can have someone strong. So August 8th, information will be coming out, and I hope you can enjoy and see how much fun everyone has with it, but how much all the work they do goes to a great cause. So with that, Dr. Vidala?
Any other members? Ms. Ty?
Just want to add my congratulations to all of the people who participated in that. It seems to be the same people every year, and then it gets bigger as more and more people join in the endeavor. So congratulations to all, and thank you for all that you have done for us. We have so many people who support us and our children. This is a wonderful place to be, the city of Revere and the Revere Public Schools. Happy New Year.
Any other members? I personally would just like to congratulate Stacy Lavati for her hard work. I know how and of course, we do not want to forget Jay Bolton and Victor and Andrea and all the staff at the marina at the wharf. You know, I remember when Stacy decided she wanted to revitalize and revive Row Row to Revere. A lot of you may not remember, but Row Row used to be like a staple event in the summertime way back in the 70s and 80s. And at that point, I believe, didn't they row from Nahant to Revere? Yeah, much further. But Stacy had this vision to reinvent Row Row to Revere, and with all the proceeds going to the Revere schools and to the CPAC, and just really helping out the community. It's an unbelievable event. She supports all of the special ed and the events at the Revere Rec Center, like Stacy said. This has just become a really unbelievable community event, and it just symbolizes like what Revere is all about. A community that just works together for a good cause and brings everyone together. So I want to just commend you again for all of your hard work, and it's amazing what you've done in just 3 years, right? Congratulations.
So I'll read this certificate. It says, "The certificate of recognition is presented to Row 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 in Revere in recognition for your contributions and continued work as a leader in strengthening our students, families, and community. Your dedicated efforts are greatly appreciated." And I would just like to say, I know that this is just the beginning, and there is a lot more to come from Row 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 in Revere. So thank you so much.
Can we have them come up and take a picture? Yeah, Victor, Jay, Stacy, Andrea, Vanessa. We see you, Vanessa.
Get up there then.
Okay, next on the recognition, Mr. Vidala.
So next up, we are going to recognize our spelling bee winners from each of our 6 elementary schools and our 3 middle schools. I just want to commend Dr. Christina Porter for her work in organizing the spelling bees along with each literacy coach at the schools. This is sort of an institution that has come in to Revere over the past few years, and it's really amazing how well our students do. They get up there, they first go through a spelling bee at the classroom level, and each of the kids who are finalists, they're the champion of their own class. And then they go up and they do a school-wide spelling bee, and it's really impressive how these kids stand up there with just poise, and they're able to spell these challenging words just over and over again, and it's really amazing to see. So I'd like to thank everybody for their work. What I'll do is I'll go up to the podium and read the 3rd place, the 2nd place, and the 1st place winners for each of the schools, and we'll ask that you guys just line up in front of here. We'll do a big picture at the end. I know there's quite a few of you. As we do that, I would like to recognize that the champions have all qualified for the Scripps Regional Bee, which will be held at the Lynn Auditorium. And the date of that is March 24th at 5 p.m., and it's at the Lynn City Hall Memorial Auditorium. So it's very exciting. If any members have anything to say?
Any members?
Well, yes.
Ms. Ty?
I can't pass up an opportunity to say congratulations. I am the pronouncer for all of the spelling bees, and I will say, some of the words are extremely difficult to pronounce and far more difficult to spell. And I have been amazed at the schools. I went through the entire list of the words and then had to start over on the next list. They went beyond any other year's success. They were all wonderful, and it's been a pleasure and an honor to participate with them. They are just wonderful children. Thank you, parents, because it doesn't happen unless you are working with them. So it's just been a wonderful experience. I know for them, it certainly has been for the rest of us who admire your success. Best of luck and congratulations.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Ty. So as I call your name, I'll call each school, 3rd place, 2nd place, 1st place, and we'll just line up here in front of the podium and we'll take a picture of everybody. So first I have from the Hill Spelling Bee, in 3rd place, Hannah Iradi.
Good girl, Hannah.
In 2nd place, at the Hill Spelling Bee,
Right over here, sweetheart. We're gonna take pictures. We missed them.
Sarah Granados Alvarez. And for the Hill Spelling Bee, the 1st place winner and champion, Jenna Yalmokis. Moving on to the Garfield Elementary Spelling Bee. In 3rd place, Justin Cavalcanti. In 2nd place, and the runner-up for the Garfield Elementary, Pelo Malangchia. And our 1st place champion at the Garfield Elementary, Aya Behetti. Moving on to the Beachmont Elementary. In third place, Camila Diaz Perez. In second place at the Beachmont Elementary, Elizabeth Barry. And the first place, our champion at the Beachmont Elementary School, Akram Malki. Moving on to the Paul Revere Elementary School. In third place, Catherine Aborn. And at the Paul Revere Elementary School, our second place, the runner-up, Leona Lee. And our champion at the Paul Revere, a very talented family, Lena Lee. Next up at the Wayland Elementary, our third place winner, Zoha Hassan. And the runner-up for second place at the Wayland Elementary School, Gabriel Gavilanes. And the winner, our champion at the Wayland Elementary School, Amira Al-Kumidi. At the Lincoln Elementary School, third place, Joseph Finn. Here he is. There you are, Joseph. Congratulations. Second place, the runner-up at the Lincoln Elementary School, Rana El-Qasimi. And our champion for the Lincoln Elementary School, Jadiv Gopalakrishan. These are our elementary school champions. Let's take some pictures and let's... Okay, boys and girls, let's stay here. Mrs. Rizzo, did you want to take a quick picture of the elementary? Panoramic.
Not good at panorama. I'll just cut you out. Just put it all up.
Oh, just take it out. Hold them up. So moms can take pictures.
Okay, boys and girls, they'll take a couple more pictures. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you guys coming too? And just squat down in the front. Okay, let's give a big round of applause for our elementary school champions. Okay, boys and girls, you can go back to your seats. Okay, next up, we have the top three in the middle school.
Excuse me, Mr. Vidal. Oh, we're in the middle school? Okay. I thought you were going on.
Middle school, and then we'll move.
Okay.
Yep. Okay, our three middle school principals are running a parent night tonight, so they weren't able to come, but they did say that they were very proud of each of the recipients, and they're sorry that they couldn't be here tonight, but they see you on a daily basis, and they're so proud of you. So let's start with our third place at the Garfield Middle School, Samantha Solis. And our runner-up at the Garfield Middle School, Annabelle Sandy Roach. And the Garfield Middle School champion, your first place winner, Layla Bentacor Cardona. Moving on to the Rumney Marsh Academy. In third place, Esteban Abelez. Second place, our runner-up at the our runner-up at the Rumney Marsh Academy, Mia Hood. And our champion for the Rumney Marsh Academy, in first place, Adam Ashur. And our final school, the Susan B. Anthony, in third place, Grace Sullivan. In second place, Emily Heckley. And our champion at the Susan B. Anthony, Kathy Granados Alvarez.
Look at all you trying to squeeze into the pictures. One more round of applause. Okay, at this time, we'd like to take a 1-minute recess. Next on the agenda item, Mr. Vidala.
Thank you, Ms. Gravellisi. So our next recognition is going to be for our fall student athletes. And this was a tremendous year for our fall athletes in Revere. So start with a round of applause. Absolutely. So a little over a year ago, Mr. Shea came to us and he had worked with Dr. Perella and they wanted to return to the Greater Boston League. And for those of you who have been around for a while, the Greater Boston League is one of the best athletic leagues in the state, and there's a lot of pride that goes into that. And Revere was an original member of the Greater Boston League. So to return to the GBL was a great sense of pride. And when Revere returned, they came back with a vengeance, and they said, we're not only going to enter the GBL, but we're going to show you how to play sports. You know, and I think from top to bottom, the teams really showed up, and they showed the other teams in the GBL what they were missing when Revere was gone. So I'd like to just first recognize the girls soccer team as GBL champions. Our boys cross-country team as GBL champions. The field hockey team went on an epic run last fall, winning an incredible number of games in a row and finishing off as GBL champions. Our volleyball team had a historic season, finishing as GBL champions. Our cheerleading team won their first invitational. They went on to win the Greater Boston League, the North Regional Championship, and they finished off the season as state champions, qualifying for nationals. And last but not least, an incredible run by our football team, who was not only Northeast Conference champions, they stuck around and they wanted to end on a high note in the Northeast Conference. So they won the Northeast Conference, but they also went on to the Division IV North Final in an epic year for the boys football team as well. Just an incredible season all around, brought this city together, a great sense of pride at all the athletic events and for our pep rallies, and so our student athletes certainly made us proud this year. I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Shea, our athletic director, who's going to talk a little bit about all the different athletic awards that some of the individuals won, in addition to the incredible team awards that we had.
Good evening. Thank you, Dr. Vidala. Just to piggyback on what Dr. Vidala said, we had 6 teams winning league championships. We won 5 coaches won League Coach of the Year awards, 1 state champion, 1 North finalist, 2 teams quarterfinalists, and 4 other teams qualifying for the state tournament. So I don't think we can do any better than that. It was an unprecedented year. We're really proud of these student athletes and coaches, and tonight we'll recognize them with certificates. Starting with football, our Northeast Conference All-Conference player, Lucas Barbosa. Northeast Conference All-Conference, Jonathan Murphy. Northeast Conference Football All-Conference, Jared Benson. Northeast Conference All-Conference, Mazer Ali. Northeast Conference All-Conference, Calvin Boudreau. Northeast Conference All-Star, Zachary Furlong. Northeast Conference All-Star, William Byrne Ginepra. Northeast Conference Football All-Star, Joshua Lorena. And last but not least, Northeast Conference All-Conference and Northeast Conference Most Valuable Player, Joseph Lanos. And Northeast Conference Football Coach of the Year, Louis Ciccatelli.
Okay, 1, 2, 3. Slide over to the center. Yeah, like that. Hope no one's in a hurry. It's all right. Yay. Sweet.
In girls volleyball, Greater Boston League All-Star Olivia Windsor. Greater Boston League All-Star Isabella Martinez. And Greater Boston League Coach of the Year in volleyball, Leanne Mimo.
My God.
In golf, Greater Boston League All-Star Dante Raffa.
Can we take Brandon? Yeah, please. If you have nothing to do. Nice job, Dante.
One other thing we should note, our girls' cross-country team was GBL runner-up, finishing second, and largely in part because this young lady was unable to run for most of the season, and if she could, we probably would have had a seventh team win the GBL championship. But our first Greater Boston League All-Star is Erica Chiva. Also in girls cross country, Soleil Young. And also for girls cross country, Carly Bennett. Moving on to boys cross country, Greater Boston League All-Star Victor Pelletier. Greater Boston League All-Star James Carpinelli. Greater Boston All-Star Carlos Quintanilla. Greater Boston All-Star Fabio Tran. Greater Boston League All-Star Christian Madrid. And Greater Boston Coach of the Year in boys cross country, Michael Flynn.
move to your left. To the left, to the left, left, left.
In girls soccer, Greater Boston League All-Star Luana Barboza. League All-Star Jacqueline Zapata. League All-Star Sophia Chukri. And Greater Boston League All-Star, Greater Boston League MVP, and Eastern Mass All-Star Carolina Bitera. And Greater Boston League Coach of the Year, Megan O'Donnell. In boys soccer, Greater Boston League All-Star Michael Maldonado. League All-Star Diego Salcido Gallo. And Greater Boston League All-Star Samuel Arango. In field hockey, Greater Boston All-Star Catherine O'Donnell. League All-Star Eve Leskovitz. League All-Star Chloe Giordano. League All-Star Julia Cincinnato. Sorry, Catherine, but also Greater Boston League MVP, Catherine O'Donnell. And Greater Boston League Coach of the Year in field hockey, Brianna Scott. Also, League All-Star Gianna Raffa.
Oh, yeah, Brianna.
We'll get you one tomorrow. Lastly, in the sport of cheering, there are no individual awards in cheering, but at this time, we'd like to invite captains Ava Wiswall and Maddie Stewart up for a photo.
Yeah, Christina.
And hey, you invited me too.
At this time, we'd like to take a 1-minute recess. Return to regular order of business. Next on the agenda is the superintendent's report. Dr. Vidala.
Thank you, Mrs. Gravellisi. I'd like to acknowledge that Dr. Kelly could not be here tonight. She is representing Revere in California as part of the Deeper Learning Dozen, furthering our footprint nationwide, as well as in Canada, as part of our Deeper Learning Dozen work. So Dr. Kelly sends her regrets, and hopefully Dr. Macabre and I can take her place for tonight only. So first up on the superintendent's report, we have Dr. Perella from Revere High School. He will be talking about our Revere High School hat pilot. He came at the beginning of the year, and he's here to give us an update. So, Dr. Perella.
Oh yeah, Perella!
Good evening. Last spring, I was invited to speak after I had a conversation with the superintendent, with the school committee, to present basically an idea that germinated from students and faculty to listen to student voice and to try to make a change in the school policies, at least on a pilot basis, and that was in regards to wearing hats. So what the slide in front of you is the exact slide that I used last spring to present some of the reasoning behind this trial run of allowing hats at the high school. And tonight I'd like to, as I told you in the spring, I would come back and present you with evidence and some feedback on how the pilot went. So the first slide is a teacher survey that was taken by faculty members at the high school. And this was given out at the end of December and closed about a week ago. And in it, roughly 95% of the faculty either thought that there was no impact on teaching and learning or that there was a positive impact on teaching and learning at the high school as a result of this change in policy. There is a small percentage of teachers, less than a handful, who did present that there was a negative impact. I had conversations with each and every one of those teachers, and every single one of them presented that it wasn't the hat itself that caused concerns, but it was the hat in the sense of allowing students to engage in behaviors that had previously not been engaged in the past, and that would lead to a slippery slope, and allowing other things such as hoods and other concerns that they presented. I also have a few slides of student voices. I'm not going to read these. In fact, I can't read these. They're too far away for me to read them. But these are students that voluntarily presented their ideas behind what they thought of regarding this change in policy. And you'll read each of those. And they take different tacks. Some are very realistic in the sense that hats allow students to come in when their hair's a mess, something simple like that. Others believe or present that it represents something bigger. It represents something where students' voice is listened to and valued, and that we allow students to present their individuality through things such as styles, like hats and outfits, things of that nature. Additional feedback I have here, just some things to sort of summarize. Again, some of the faculty did present some hesitancy. Again, that was not in specific concern to the hats themselves. And I do think that there is a concern, a realistic concern about behaviors at the high school and changes that we have to address. And there's a whole range of reasons and basically issues behind that. In our request of the school committee for personnel next year, we hope to address that and to further investigate that and explore that. There was no documented incidents of inappropriate hat use. One of the things that we presented last year was that there could be concerns regarding different types of hats that are worn, such, for instance, very similar to outfits like shirts. We would police that to make sure that it was appropriate, and that to date, not one student wore an inappropriate hat during the school year. And then students overwhelmingly appreciated being allowed to wear hats, and that's especially during the cold winter that we've been having. This is a drafty building, and a lot of faculty students and faculty do like to wear hats in the building. So I think that there's a very practical reason for it as well. I also would like to invite two students, Adam and Minna, if you don't mind coming up here. These are two student leaders who, after I had conversation with them, agreed to come up and give a short presentation and some of their opinions on this change in policy.
Full house tonight, huh? I'm Adam.
I'm Minna.
I'm a senior. I work for the Weekly Voice as an intern. I do weekly broadcasts from the news, you know. Do you do anything special?
So I do a lot of different extracurriculars, so I'm a part of different clubs and sports, so I get a chance to work with different types of students throughout the day, and I intern at a lot of different places throughout the school building.
So we're brought up here to discuss the topic of hats. Me personally, my hair is usually a mess. I have very curly and wild hair, and sometimes when it is that New England weather, you know, the 15, 20 degrees, I don't want to go outside with my frozen hair and my ears freezing. I'm just able to put my beanie on, come in, and there's no problem when I walk through the door. Security guard looks at me and she smiles. I remember just junior, sophomore year, walking in with anything remotely close to a hat, it was a little difficult. You know, you couldn't really be comfortable with yourself. But as a result of this policy, I think a lot of us there's no more problem really. There's no teachers telling you take your hat off, please, in the hallway. You know, enforcing as if it was an ID or something like that. You know, it's not really a problem. We just like another piece of a barrel, and you know, I support the policy.
Kind of building off of what Adam said, I feel like the policy it kind of seems minimal, and it's oh, we're just letting students wear hats and stuff like that. But I feel like a lot of it has to have a positive impact on just the culture of the school. So as I mentioned, I play 3 different sports throughout the year, and I do a number of different extracurriculars, which enables me to connect with different groups of students. And I feel like the best way to understand the hat policy is understanding prior to the pilot and after, because before it, I feel like it was a lot of negative feedback, oh, schools aren't the high school isn't letting us wear hats, we should be able to choose what we want to do and things in that regard. And I feel like it just impacted the positive culture. It might seem like, oh, we're just letting them wear hats, but it's more than that. I feel like it develops like kind of like a trust between the administration, like, hey, we had this issue, we had this concern, why aren't we being allowed to do that? And the administration actually listened and they actually answered our concerns.
So at this time, if I'd like to open up the floor to any school committee member who has a question for myself or for any of the students that are here.
Mr. Franti?
Thank you, Ms. Gravellisi. Dr. Pearl, I guess the common complaint that we've gotten, and like I said, it's only what you hear, because we're not here, it's the hoods. Hoods seem to be the biggest problem. And I'm not sure what we can do and can't do. Do we have like a plan in place to do something with this, or how are we addressing this problem?
This is also one of the concerns teachers brought up who did vote that it had a negative impact, and their thinking was that there was a causation, or at least a correlation between hood use and hat use, or allowing hats and hood use. So from our research, this is a common problem every high school is dealing with. The hoods have become a much more staple in style for adolescents. What we do presently is, if you ask a student, I walk down the halls and pretty much ask students to take off their hoods every time I see them. There's never a problem. In fact, most students, when they see me, they take the hood off. And now, they do put the hood back on, some of them, somewhere down the line and somewhere during the day. And we have to decide on how we address that. When I see a student wearing a hood and I speak to them more than once during a day, I do have a longer conversation. I bring them into my office. We spend a little bit more time basically having a conversation regarding the hood use. Once again, my understanding of the hood use presently is that it's a style that's a lot of adolescents are engaging in. I know this is true with my own children in other schools, in the schools that they attend, and I have the same conversations with them. It becomes a habit for me. I actually tell them to take their hoods off all the time because I'm so used to telling people to take their hoods off that even in my house I'll tell them to take the hood off. So I don't, again, if we look back to what the pilot originally was going to try to address, was something that we looked at having no impact on student teaching, learning and teaching. Hoods can have an impact on teaching and learning, be that as in regards to the safety of students, not knowing who students are, and obviously wearing a hood and maybe closing their eyes or listening to headphones and things of that nature where we can't really see what they're doing. So we address it. Teachers address it every day in class. It is something that we think is under control for the most part. Students will wear hoods. They'll come in with hoods, and then we'll speak to them and ask them to take them off.
One more question. If a person's a repeat offender, where, you've told them multiple times, no more hoods, is there anything that they get penalized for it, or, what is the actual penalty for excessive hood wearing, if there is one?
There isn't anything formal, but what we do with those students, obviously, anytime a student continues to violate or break a school rule or a policy, we address them individually. Typically what we'll do is we'll contact their family, make clear to them that this is a concern, that they're coming in with hats every day. Unfortunately, a lot of the students well, I can't say this, I haven't done any research on this, but a lot of the students who do wear hoods are also struggling in school. They're also having other issues that we're working with them around. Sometimes we have to pick and choose our battles depending on the situation, but it is addressed every single time it's done. It is communicated that this is a concern, and students are asked every time to take their hood off. So it isn't something that we just look beyond and don't address. What we're trying to do is find the best approach to students wearing wearing hoods. 98% of the time, you ask them to take the hood off, it's off. There are students who don't do that, and we address them individually. There are situations where students are disciplined for that.
Thank you very much.
Any other members? Ms. Rizzo?
I just wanted to say, Minna, this would have been a great debate team topic.
It would.
Yeah, so keep that in mind the next time.
To the rest of the board.
Thank you.
You will.
Any other members?
Yes.
Ms. Ty?
Well, as I recall, when we voted on the policy, we had an end date. So I, for one, would like to have a full board here, and so I'd be willing to make a motion that we that we set a different end date, not the end of the year yet, but a different end date. And then maybe we could have a fuller discussion, a longer discussion where we'd sit down and maybe we could, I don't know, call in some kids who feel that they need to have the hoods, and if you thought that was appropriate. You know, even, wearing hats in high school has been a problem ever since I started teaching in 1960, and it hasn't changed. And so I don't think it's going to change in one pilot program for a defined period of time. So if it's appropriate, Madam Chairman, I'll make a motion that we extend the policy, the hat policy, until the next school committee meeting. The date of the next school committee meeting, which is February
25th.
25th.
Yes.
And refer the matter to the committee of the whole / policy committee. But I think we're all pretty much concerned with it. And we'll continue talking about it.
Is there a second? Oh. Roll call?
Mrs. Bronston.
Discussion, please.
Oh, sorry, excuse me, Ms. Rizzo. Sorry, I didn't see your hand.
When we were discussing this early, we did say we would table it to our next meeting, so we listen to your information and then have more to talk about. I don't know, I think maybe I misunderstood, but I thought because we didn't want to disrupt the school year, I thought we were going to wait until, let them keep this up for the end of the school year. Am I wrong?
I thought we were going to
We did talk about
we'd
that.
make that decision at the next meeting, I thought we had discussed.
I think what
But
we,
there's no reason we can't do that.
I think what we were gonna do is just give them until the next school committee meeting and then make a final decision at that point when we have a fuller board to extend it to the rest of the year.
Or maybe not even final, maybe we need to.
Well,
do-
whatever, I mean, you know what I'm saying,
Whatever,
though,
right.
you know,
So are we comfortable with allowing them to still wear
Yes, that's my
everything
motion.
but hoodies until
Yes.
the end of the school year? Or do you want it
Are
stopped?
you, are you asking me if I'm personally
I'm asking
comfortable?
this board if they want to consider a date or wait until the end of the school year, but making our decision for February so they know where to go with the handbook.
Right, that's what we decided.
right.
We would decide in February where we don't have
I
a
would
full
be willing to
committee.
extend it to the next school committee meeting, not to the end of the
Okay.
school year. So
We'll
my-
make our vote whether or not.
Right, so I would recommend that we extend it to the next school committee meeting, and then we'll have a final discussion at that point. Fair enough?
Okay. We had a second
I
by Mr. Ferrante. Roll call?
Mrs. Bronston Rizzo.
Yes.
Mr. D'Ambrosio.
Yes.
Mr. Ferranti.
Yes.
Ms. Gravellisi. Mr. Sinella. Ms. Ty.
Yes.
Mayor Rigo.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Perella. Okay, the next item on the agenda for the superintendent's report is an update on the new Revere High School. So speaking of RHS, we are continuing in the process with the MSBA, and right now we are in the eligibility phase. We will continue to work with the MSBA throughout the spring, and in the next coming months, there'll be votes from the school committee and the city council to approve a feasibility study, which is the next stage in the process. We expect that will cost about $1.2 million. It's part of the process. Mayor Rigo has appropriated the funds for that, and it's ready to go. We're very thankful for the support of the mayor's office and the school committee and the city council as we work towards planning and developing our new Revere High School. So what we would be looking for is, we have our new visioning team. The Revere High School visioning team consists of about 40 members, including parents, students, teachers, school committee members, other educators, and community members. And there's about 40 of them that will meet on January 29th to discuss the next steps in the process and how we will program for a new Revere High School. We're hoping that the feasibility study will begin in July of this year, and we anticipate that will be about a 12 to 18-month process. So we're very excited about the process. We're continuing to work with the Mass School Building Authority, and After that meeting on January 29th, we anticipate that we'll provide more additional updates during the February school committee meeting. Any questions on the next steps in the process from the committee?
One question, Dr. Vidal. Can anybody show up to the vision meeting, or is it just the members of the board?
So that will be just the members of the board. We had people sign up from all schools, so we have about 40 representatives.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other members?
Moving on to the next agenda item on the superintendent's report is a possible MCAS science pilot. So I'm going to ask Dr. Macabre to speak on that.
Thank you, Dr. Badala. We have been alerted to, DESE has put forth a potential MCAS science pilot for next year. We are contemplating participating in this at the 5th and 8th grade level. This would involve a performance task as part of the assessment. We know that as a result of our work with Harvard and the Deeper Learning Dozen that Dr. Vidala just mentioned, and our ongoing work with MCIEA, that these types of performance task assessments are a more authentic measure of student learning. We plan to continue to follow this initiative as it develops over the next few months. This loosely correlates with our work with the Kaleidoscope Collective. You have heard about the Kaleidoscope Collective from Dr. Kelly before, and most recently, DESE representatives were out to visit the Rumney Marsh Academy and the Lincoln School on January 13th as part of their work with the Kaleidoscope Collective. As you remember, Dr. Kelly spoke and talked about 22 schools and districts that were accepted as finalists as part of this, and we are continuing our work as finalists down this road to engage and nurture deeper learning in our schools in the district.
Any questions from members?
One question, Ms. Gravellisi.
Mr. Ferranti?
Dr. Macabre, is there a date that is targeted to potentially start this pilot?
No, right now, the state is applying for a waiver in order to be able to pilot this. This is in the early stages. We participated in a conference call with members of the department as they work towards this. So this is not hasn't been finalized yet. So we're going to continue to just hear and be updated on the work that they're doing.
Has the state given you any indication of a possible date or anything? No?
No.
Okay,
No.
thank you.
Ms. Rizzo?
Just, not that this has to do with the pilot program, but you said the word science, so I was just kind of wondering if we have dates for the science fairs. I haven't seen anything yet.
No, we do not, but I can certainly make sure we get that to you.
Okay, thank you.
Any other members? Mr. Vidala, back to you.
Okay, and the next item on the agenda is the community meeting for our priority setting and our budgeting. So on February 4th, we plan on having a community meeting regarding the increased funding from the Student Opportunity Act. So Dr. Macabre is going to lead us through a discussion on that.
Thank you. As Dr. Vidala just talked about, February 4th, from 6 to 8 p.m. in the Learning Commons at Revere High School, we will be hosting a community meeting. Please note, and Dr. Vidala has the flyer up there, we emailed this flyer. It's also on our website. We would like anyone interested in attending to RSVP so that we have a better idea of how many people to expect. There was a link emailed to families and employees. There's also a link on the Revere Public Schools website. Translators will also be available in Spanish, Portuguese, and Arabic at this community meeting. The first part of this meeting is going to be talking about the district priorities moving forward for the next 3 years as we work to create a 3-year plan that is required by the Student Opportunity Act. The second part of this meeting is dedicated to trying to identify our priorities for funding. As of right now, we don't know how much funding we will be receiving as part of this Student Opportunity Act. We actually will find out tomorrow. The commissioner has guided districts to use caution in making any budgetary decisions prior to the governor's budget being released. I will personally be attending a meeting on Thursday as we look for guidance from the department on the requirements for spending this additional funding provided through the Student Opportunity Act. As you all know, we've talked about many times, our lack of funding for the last several years has constrained our ability to devote the resources to many areas we would have liked to. We know that there are a lot of ideas out there about how this influx of funding should be spent. This is a great opportunity for parents, educators, and community members to provide input and collaborate as we prepare to develop the FY21 budget. This is an exciting time, and we look forward to working with all stakeholders in the coming months.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. It is certainly an exciting time, and we do hope that as many family and community members can come to that meeting on February 4th in the RHS Learning Commons. And with that, that concludes the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Dr. Vidala. Moving on, next agenda item is the student representative report.
Okay, and I just want to introduce, we're very excited to have a new student representative this month, and she is a senior. Her name is Olea Luadi, and Olea is a senior here at Revere High School. She is the captain of our science team. She started and runs her own nonprofit to benefit children with autism. She's quite an amazing young lady, and she is looking at applying to schools such as Northeastern and Simmons and some other local universities. So we're very excited to have Olea here, and I'll turn it over to you for the student representative report.
Thank you for having me. Good evening, everyone. I'll start my report by talking about what the Senior Student Council has been working on recently. The past few months, they've been working on planning and organizing the winter formal, which they ran this previous Friday. It was very successful and probably will be carried on by future classes. They're currently working on planning the annual Mr. RHS event, as well as the annual RHS talent show, and planning for that has started, as well as planning for the senior act for the talent show. The senior design for their senior sweaters are also being designed currently, with signatures being taken in the advisor's room, 314. There's been a lot of bake sales for different student organizations this previous week, some of which are the new feminist empowerment movement run by Mr. I just forget his name. Yeah, sorry. But basically, we had a bake sale by the Feminist Environment Movement, which is a new club at the high school, as well as Two Countries, One Cause, which is a project run by students here for autistic children in Morocco. There have been a lot of news in terms of college acceptances for seniors already, some of which include Kobe Everton has recently gotten accepted to Harvard University. We had two other students, Jason Vu and Bashir Saharour, who got accepted to Northeastern University. As well as many acceptances so far to UMass Amherst, St. Anselm College, Suffolk University, and many more, with more news to come. The Student Senate has started a new Mental Health Tip of the Month campaign on their Instagram page at RHS Student Senate. They have been posting a new Mental Health Tip of the Week every week, and we've gotten good responses from the student body and anticipate to keeping up with that in months to come. And the Student Senate split into some subcommittees, including school beautification, student body involvement, and a few others. And they are working on many different projects with more updates to come. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Alea? Okay. Oh, Ms. Rizzo?
No, I just want to say welcome. Alea comes from great stock, a great family in Revere that has always contributed, always positive, and obviously she had great role models, and she'll be a pleasure to have with us. So welcome, Alea.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rizzo. Moving on, next item is public speak. Seeing none, we will move on to the next agenda item, which is the consent calendar. Mr. Ferrante?
Yes. Right now, I want to take off one item. It's under the school field trips. It's the National Yes Model UN in New York City.
A motion to approve the rest of the consent calendar.
Second.
Roll call? Roll
Mrs.
call?
Mrs. Bronston Rizzo.
Yes.
Mr. D'Ambrosio.
Yes.
Mr. Ferranti.
Yes.
Ms. Gravellisi.
Yes.
Ms. Ty.
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Ferranti, do you have, did you want to read a little bit about the Model UN? Ms. Rizzo?
So Mr. Fellows is requesting our acceptance of their student trip, and this would be to the National U.S. Model UN Conference. International relations, negotiations, public speaking, these are all workshops that our students will be able to attend. They've gone for many years. Minna, are you going?
Yes, I am.
I'm so glad. He would like to bring 8 students and 2 chaperones. They have been raising funds, or they will start raising funds through the club funds they've already had from last year, and also more fundraising. They'll also be doing the bus line, subways, anything possible to get where they're going. And they would like to attend. It would be March 4th to the 7th, and it's just a great opportunity, and our students are always well represented at the UN conference. So I hope we can make a motion and accept this student trip request.
I'll move that we approve the student trip organized by Mr. Mark Fellows with a group of 8 students, or whatever number he finally comes down to, and that we give permission to that and congratulate them on their participation. It'd be wonderful if they did get to meet with Singapore, because that's where they're going later, so that would be wonderful.
I will second the motion.
Roll call?
Mrs. Bronston Rizzo.
Yes.
Mr. D'Ambrosio.
Yes.
Mr. Ferranti.
Yes.
Ms. Gravellisi.
Yes.
Ms. Ty.
Yes.
Okay, next agenda item is report of the subcommittees. I would like to report that at the start of every calendar year, we do revise and revamp the subcommittees. So as of now, I'd like to read who is assigned to which committee. For the Personnel Subcommittee, Ms. Carol Ty is chair, and the members will be Michael Ferranti and Anthony D'Ambrosio. Plant and Maintenance Subcommittee, Mr. Sinella will be chair, with the members being Michael Ferranti and Carol Ty. Ways and Means, Michael Ferranti will be the chair. Other members will be Carol Ty and Anthony D'Ambrosio. Policies and Procedures, Stacy Rizzo will be chair. The other members will be Susan Gravellisi and Fred Sinella. Health and Special Education, Anthony D'Ambrosio will be chair. The other members will be Stacy Rizzo and Susan Gravellisi. And last but not least, Safety and Security, Susan Gravellisi will be chair, with members Fred Sinella and Stacy Rizzo also on that committee. And as always, all members are always invited to go to all of the subcommittee members' meetings that the members have. So,
Also the public.
and the public, they are publicly posted. Any questions or comments or concerns from any members? No? Okay. We don't need to approve anything. Yes, Ms. Rizzo?
I have subcommittee reports. And I'm not the chair, but I've been going to these, and that is why I'm reporting out. Just for informational purposes, Revere CPAC has canceled their January 23rd Speech and Language Transition Program. Unfortunately, there was not enough people that showed an interest in coming. So hopefully, maybe the better weather, we can reschedule it. Also, I am on the Board of Directors for Shore Collaborative. It's one of many schools that we have our students attend. They provide SPED services for behavioral and academically challenged students. Currently, we have 38 students enrolled in the program. So right now, they just finished the renovations on the Crescent Ave building, and hopefully this will allow to expand the autism program that is held at the Parkway building. And right now, the autism program is completely full. So hopefully this transition will help. We've also done the annual audit and report that was voted out favorably. And we reached an agreement, and it's been ratified with their AFT union, and also approved the evaluation of the treasurer, the assistant executive director, and also the director. So I just want to make sure I do quarterly reports so that we have an idea of what's going on out there. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rizzo. Any other members? None. Moving on. Old business? None. Next agenda item, new business. Mr. Vidala?
Yeah, so in terms of new business, about 2 years ago, the school committee passed an early graduation policy within the Revere High School handbook that any student that met the graduation requirements successfully would be able to graduate in January. So one request that we have is a procedural request from Revere High School that the school committee allows students who graduate in January to have their degrees conferred and their diplomas to reflect the date of a January graduation. By allowing this, it would allow students to apply for financial aid and enter into college receiving financial aid in the spring semester. If we don't do this, students would have to wait until the summer to apply for the financial aid. So what we're asking is for the committee to approve the request to confer diplomas for those students who meet the graduation requirements in January.
Chair?
Motion.
And this is, if I may ask, this is for students who are enrolled in the Year Up program specifically, or are we approving it in general?
So it would be for all students that meet the graduation requirements. That way they could apply for financial aid for any program. The Year Up would be one of those programs, but if they wanted to go right to a 4-year college or a 2-year college, they could apply for
They
financial
can
aid
do
right
it
away.
on their own?
Yes,
They
exactly.
don't need any,
Correct. We just wouldn't be holding them back to wait until the summer. So by getting the early graduation, they can go right to college in the spring semester.
Thank you, Ms. Ty. Ms. Rizzo?
So at this time, I would like to make a motion to accept, to confer January early diploma for those that meet the requirements for the early graduation policy.
Second.
Roll call.
Mrs. Bronston Rizzo.
Yes.
Mr. D'Ambrosio.
Yes.
Mr. Ferranti.
Yes.
Ms. Gravellisi.
Yes.
Ms. Ty.
yes.
Next agenda item, school committee interests. Ms. Rizzo?
This is, I am also on the board of MIAA Tournament Management Committee, and we really do have a historical vote coming up, probably the first one in about 40 years. And it is a recommendation to eliminate sectional tournaments and move the seeding process to max preps. It could create more divisions across the state and better align schools based on the enrollment and perhaps more equal paths to the championships, even though we had a great fall. And I do want to intercede by saying, at our last meeting, they wanted to know what we're doing over in Revere, that our fall sports was so great, and we're Revere. And I couldn't wait to say it to Sean Hart, because he was there, so I made sure I pushed it a little bit further. So it will just be, in overall, better game matchups and less blowouts on the field. I think it's something that is going to be a little confrontational when it comes time for the vote, because a lot is still old school. But there is a vote, February 28th, and if anyone wants, I will be more than happy to submit the 17-page report for your viewing pleasure.
Thank you, Ms. Rizzo. Ms. Ty?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Some time ago, when we were first beginning the process in Next Stop Revere, and the mayor explained it to people, we talked about how much we in the city needed to be involved with the future of the city for ourselves, for our children, grandchildren, for our neighbors and friends. And I have been lucky enough to be on that steering committee. It has been meeting for several months. People who are on that committee involved are members of city government, members of the school department, members who are concerned about where the future leads, business people, people in other forms of education. And we have been working under the auspices of the Metropolitan Area Planning Council. That, you may have seen them, people in the audience may have seen them and reports on what they do actually in the paper at least weekly. They're working in some community. And they have taken everything that everybody has talked about. We get reports after every meeting. We write out what we feel is good about the report, bad about the report. Occasionally, I correct their punctuation. But they have done, it has been so actually inspiring to work with this group of people. You see all the people who do work around in the city, for the citizens, and how much people are concerned about what they do and that they can do it to the fullest extent possible. And so we are coming to the final report. And the final report is going to be given on January 28th. And I just hope that everybody will try to attend. It will be, if not everybody, it's possible, and I guess we need to anticipate that there might be snow, and that might be keeping people at home, or it might be deferring people. We might even have to defer the meeting, you don't know, but it's just a wonderful thing. And it involves all aspects of the city. For example, the historic and cultural aspect of it, the open space aspect of the city. And we get to serve on a variety of places. This does not specifically deal with the school department or the school buildings as such, although any number of us have said, how can we talk about the use of land and the proper use of where we're going in a city if we're not talking about building a new high school? That really has to be part of it. And it was interesting that our point of view, the people who expressed that point of view, were really listened to, and that became an intimate part, an intricate part of the discussion as it proceeded farther down. So this will be, we will all get a chance to talk about the historical and cultural background, the playground, the recreation, the treatment for seniors, about every aspect of city life. And we had a big crowd when we opened up, and we're looking for an even bigger crowd. So watch for this, participate, and if you can't, please look at it on television, and the mayor's office is always happy to take advice from anyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ty. Any other members? Ms. Rizzo?
Just, basically, I think we all forgot just to welcome our new colleague here,
Oh.
Anthony.
I was waiting till the end.
I was going to say Anthony Ambrosino, but Anthony D'Ambrosia. So welcome on board and good luck to you. Just good luck.
Welcome.
I appreciate it. This is going to be a ton of fun. I'm excited. And I'm excited to work with all of you all. So thank you.
Thank you, Stacy, for bringing that up. Okay, next on the agenda, we do have a few motions. Dr. Vidala would like to just elaborate on them a little bit before we make the motion.
Thank you, Ms. Gravellisi. So we will be sending 2 applications into the MSBA's Accelerated Repair Program. So we have 2 statements of interest that we'd like to resubmit. We have submitted them before. We didn't get in, but we're going to resubmit them in hopes to getting in. There's no guarantee that we will get in, but one area that we would like to improve through the Accelerated Repair Program is the Lincoln windows. We'd like to completely replace the windows at the Lincoln School. And then the second one that we would like to do is the boiler project at the Beachmont School. And so that would be very similar to the Garfield boiler project that we submitted the statement of interest for and accepted, completed that work. We'd like to do the same thing at the Beachmont School. So we have 2 motions that Mrs. Rizzo will read.
One question, please. Dr. Vidal, do we have like an estimated price that we're looking at for the Lincoln School and the Beachmont School projects? Do we have an estimated price?
We don't have the estimated price yet. We're looking to create a statement of interest, and then we would go out to bid. We'd put the RFP together, and then we would go out to bid.
So the first motion would be towards the Mass School Building Association Statement of Interest for accelerated repairs for the Lincoln School windows and roof. And the formal text is resolved, having convened in an open meeting tonight, January 21st, 2020, prior to the statement of interest submission closing date, the School Committee of Revere, in accordance with its charter, bylaws, and ordinances, has voted to authorize the superintendent to submit to the Massachusetts School Building Authority the statement of interest form dated January 15th, 2020, for the Lincoln School located at 68 Tuckerman Street, Revere, Mass., which describes and explains the following deficiencies in the priority category. 1, replacement renovation of modernization of school facility systems such as roofs, windows, boilers, heating and ventilation systems to increase energy conservation and decrease energy-related costs in a school facility, specifically new windows and roof, for which an application may be submitted to the Mass School Building Authority in the future, and hereby further specifically acknowledges that by submitting this statement of interest form, the Mass School Building Authority in no way guarantees the acceptance of the approval of an application, the awarding of a grant, or any other funding commitment from the Mass School Building Authority, or commits the Revere School District to filing an application for funding with the Mass School Building Authority.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call. Roll call?
Mrs. Bronston Rizzo.
Yes?
Mr. D'Ambrosio.
Yes.
Mr. Ferranti.
Yes.
Ms. Gravellisi.
Yes.
Ms. Ty.
So the second one is for the statement of interest for accelerated repairs to Beachmont School boiler system. Formal text being having convened in an open meeting for January 21st, 2020, prior to this statement of interest, I can't even think, submission closing date, the School Committee of Revere, in accordance with its charter, bylaws, and ordinances, has voted to authorize the superintendent to submit to the Mass School Building Authority the statement of interest form dated January 15, 2020, for the Beachmont School located at 15 Everard Street, Revere, Mass. It is for the replacement and renovation of modernization of school facility systems such as roofs, windows, boilers, heat and ventilation systems to increase energy conservation and decrease energy-related costs in a school facility, specifically new boilers.
So moved. Second.
Roll call?
Mrs. Bronston Rizzo.
Yes.
Mr. D'Ambrosio.
Yes.
Mr. Ferranti.
Yes.
Ms. Gravellisi.
Yes.
Ms. Ty.
Yes.
Okay, next on the agenda, encumbrances. Ms. Rizzo?
So under motions for number C, we have an encumber for $7,500 to LJ Mitchell Electrical Contractors for additional electrical work at the Staff Sergeant James, thank you, Carol, Hill School. Can we just go back to McKinley? It was so much easier
It
for
was
me.
easier.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call?
Mrs. Bronston Rizzo.
Yes?
Mr. D'Ambrosio.
Yes.
Mr. Ferranti. Ms. Gravellisi.
Yes.
Ms. Ty.
And this would be approved payment of invoice number 2019206 in the amount of $7,500 for additional electrical work to LJ Mitchell Electrical Contractors, Inc. So moved.
Roll call.
Mrs. Bronston Rizzo.
Yes?
Mr. D'Ambrosio.
Yes.
Mr. Ferranti. Ms. Gravellisi.
Yes.
Ms. Ty.
And then we have motions E through L. I'm requesting that we table it to our next meeting. So moved.
Roll call.
Mrs. Bronston Rizzo.
Yes?
Mr. D'Ambrosio.
Yes.
Mr. Ferranti. Ms. Gravellisi.
Yes.
Ms. Ty.
Okay, next agenda item, executive session. Oh, yes, Ms.
Late motions.
Oh, sorry, Ms. Rizzo.
I'm sorry.
Late motions?
It's one of those voices that you really want to get rid of tonight, huh?
Not at all.
I would make a substitute motion that we go into executive session to discuss that, since it involves personnel.
It's,
I don't think we're discussing,
we're not
Carol, she's just making the
discussing and
motion.
making it, so feasibility, to look into it.
We're not really
And there's no
discussing the
names.
motion.
Isn't it going to have a name attached to it?
Yeah, mine.
A position attached to it?
Just a position. Positions.
With no names?
Howard Drummer.
No names.
Okay.
No.
Ms. Ty, withdraw.
That's why I searched really hard for the titles, so I wouldn't use names, that wouldn't be right. So, my late motion is, the first one, a motion to request the superintendent to look into the feasibility to combine two positions, Director of Administrative Technology and Director of Data and Accountability, as discussed at the Ways and Means meeting on May 10th, 2019. For personal, it's just that we talked about it before and not really sure where we're at and what the possibilities could be if we were to make it one. So if she, because she has nothing else on her plate to do, I feel so bad because we're at a busy time. But if she could get some information and bring it back to us, that would be great.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Mrs. Bronston Rizzo.
Yes?
Mr. D'Ambrosio.
Yes.
Mr. Ferranti.
Yes.
Ms. Gravellisi.
Yes.
Ms. Ty.
Not voting.
And did you have another
And number
motion?
2 would be a motion made to request the superintendent to look into the feasibility of hiring a director of digital media, which would be under the realm of technology and fine arts. I know for a long time, she has been looking or contemplating about technology. I also believe when we're talking about the whole student, fine arts, and I'm not talking about just the drama club or, art programs in the regular classroom, but I know many cities and towns might have this under one umbrella, because right now, today's technology groups, the digital arts is so much in the fine art program, whether it's computer science, whether it's coding, it still comes under the same umbrella, which is why in this day and age too, our computer classes, we really should be gearing it more to engineering coding. So I'd like to see some information come out, and maybe there'll be money for it sometime in my life. So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Bronston Rizzo.
Yes?
Mr. D'Ambrosio.
Yes.
Mr. Ferranti.
Yes.
Ms. Gravellisi.
Yes.
Ms. Ty.
Okay, and last but not least, adjournment of the meeting. Our next regularly scheduled school committee meeting will be February 25th at 6 PM here in the school committee room. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Adjourn at 7:50.